and welcome to my third installment of Wednesday Words of Wisdom. We are going to be continuing to read Be Happy by the Dalai Lama. Today's chapter is focused on compassion and happiness. I want to apologize because in the first two videos, every once in a while you could hear this like noise coming from the computer. I've since unplugged it. I've also adjusted the angle. We were getting a little too much ceiling fan in the last two videos. Hopefully this one is better. Here we go. This chapter is really good. I like this one a lot. It's on compassion and happiness. Here we go. Interestingly, there's also another way to look at karma, without touching upon the mysterious aspects of religion, but only by looking at the obvious, mundane ones. We can educate people about compassion and how it can lead to happiness. Let's look at an example from the animal world. First, biologically, all social animals show a sense of responsibility toward their group. The reality is that individual survival and well-being depend upon the welfare of the group. Because of this reality, every individual has a sense of community. No matter how powerful, no individual can survive alone, let alone be happy. His very survival depends on the rest of his community. That's a fact. Because of that, there must be some emotion that produces affection and brings community members close to each other. While compassion brings a community closer, anger does the opposite. Anger and fear, which push an individual away from his community, are harmful to survival. Of course, fear can be positive too, as a defense against danger, as it produces caution. So, at the emotional level, we are wired to protect ourselves and our interests and to expel the opposite. Affection and compassion are part of our psyche, intended to help us survive. It is the same with dogs, cats, and birds. Humans, however, have this marvelous intelligence. On the basis of our biological and emotional potential, we should use our intelligence for long-term interests. With a wider perspective of interest, we can then increase our compassion toward which we are naturally inclined. The biological wiring for love and compassion is limited, biased, and often accompanied by hatred and suspicion. Nevertheless, if we are trained to use it with intelligence, reason, and logic for a longer term and with a broader perspective, it could certainly become unbiased. We develop a biological compassion toward a friend who favors us and hatred towards an enemy who does not favor us. If your friend has a good attitude towards you, you love him. On the other hand, if this person is your antagonist, his attitude is harmful to you, therefore you hate him. Now use your intelligence. Irrespective of whether someone is your friend or an enemy, that person is still a part of your community. Your life depends on the community. Not everyone is necessarily your friend. However, you need one another for survival. That's the end. I really, really enjoyed this chapter. And the reason I do is because I think this sentiment is so important, especially with the divisive nature of politics in the United States and globally, but specifically in the United States. We're taught to hate the other side, whoever the other side may be. And at the end of the day, we're all just human beings. And we all want the same things. Like he said in the first chapter, nobody wakes up wanting more trouble. And we shouldn't wake up wanting more trouble for those that we supposedly hate. And I know it's hard to try to rewire our brains um, to not hate someone who you think fundamentally disagrees with you. Um, but I think it's almost like a manufactured disagreement. It's like, I think most people who are maybe on the opposite side of the political spectrum from you um, have been taught to believe certain things because they are scared. And fear is like a very powerful tool um, that the ruling class has become incredibly adept at wielding. This is something I've written before in one of my essays. I don't think I've published this one yet. I think this is my essay. Um, but yeah, they're the ruling class, the people in power, the politicians. These people are really good at instilling fear in us, telling us that I'll use like immigrants, for example, telling us that immigrants are stealing our jobs or that they're all dangerous criminals and all these things. This is not truth. But if they can convince us of it, then we have no choice but to feel like we have to protect ourselves from it. And I think they're going to get more into this idea in the next chapter because the next chapter is called Us and Them. So stay tuned for next week's video where we will get into that. Thank you so much for watching. As always, have a wonderful day. I don't know why I said as always because I don't always say that, but I'm saying it today.